Why is it so dark? Deny all, view all, admit all.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I say Mayor Haiti.
Mayor Williams.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
You're looking a lot better.
This is a loaded question. Can everybody hear me in real time?
Yes, here.
Definitely. What a pain.
Lots better.
We got a lot of people still coming in, so I want to give everybody a little time. My phone's been blowing up left and right. So we'll give everybody a minute to get on.
Sure thing, Mark. This is Ian. Can you hear me all right?
Loud and clear, Ian. Region 3 coming through.
Okay, good. We'll stand by.
People sort of slowed down. We had about 52. Oh, there's Tara. We'll give it another minute. People are still rolling in.
Why would people?
Okay, good morning, everybody. So sorry about the technical difficulties. We had our IT guy in here, and we really don't know what the problem was, but Plan B seems to be working, so we'll get started. Welcome to our joint meeting of the Dale Hollow RPO Technical Committee and Executive Board. We'd like to welcome a new member, Mayor John Potts of Gordonsville. Congratulations, Mayor Potts. And we look forward to working with you in the future. I hope that all of you and your families are well. I know we all look forward to putting the pandemic in the rear view this year. I want to mention that Steve Coble, the Smith County Highway Superintendent, is in poor health and is essentially paralyzed from the neck down, has resigned from his office. I want to thank Sonia King for bringing this to my attention yesterday. I knew that he'd been in an accident, but I did not know the extent of his situation. I ask all of you to keep Steve in your thoughts and prayers. He's a good man, and he's been good to work with during my time with the RPO. Now I will ask Technical Committee Chair Sonia King and the Executive Board Chair Mayor Dale Reagan to call our meetings to order and approve the minutes of the last meeting. Sonia?
I call the meeting of the Del Hollow RPO Technical Committee meeting to order.
Okay, now I will call the roll. Edward Anderson. Audie Cook. Steve Coble, no. James Norrid. Jason Browning. Jimmy Cope. Joey Reagan. Barb, I believe you're on here, aren't you? Hello, Barb. Barb, I can see you, so I'm gonna count Joey as being here. Bill Scruggs. Jordan Hunter.
Here.
Evan White.
Here.
Chris Ballou.
Here.
Sonia King.
Here.
Shannon Cantrell. Ray Evans. I know I saw Ray. Ray, are you with us? Dr. Doug Young. Oh, there's Ray. Dr. Young, I know you're here. Okay. Bill Robbins. Leanne Smith. Steve McCoy. Sam Edwards. I know I saw Mr. Edwards on here. Mary Turner.
Here.
Lloyd Williams.
Here.
Kurt Heischmidt. Here. Troy York. Mark Farley. Tommy Lee.
Here.
Chuck Sutherland. And Tara Volgeman.
I'm here.
Right. We do have a quorum for the technical committee. So on the agenda, item 3 is to approve the December 17th, 2020 technical committee meeting minutes. Chairperson King.
Does anyone have any questions or comments about the minutes of the last meeting? If no, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move. Evan White.
Do I have a second?
Second, Lloyd Williams.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no. The motion carries. The minutes are approved.
Thank you, Sonia. And I would ask Mayor Dale Reagan to call the executive board to order, and I'll do a roll call. Mayor Reagan, are you on the call? Okay, I know he was trying to get in earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and call it to order and do the roll call. And I know we sent him the link, but I'm not sure if he's on yet. So, Mayor Dale Reagan, Tanya Spears, Jimmy Johnson, Harvey Stowers, Randy Hetty,
Here.
Lloyd Williams,
Here.
Steve Jones, Jerry Wilmore, Ben Danner, Curtis Hayes. I have a note that Mr. Ray Evans is serving as proxy for Mayor Hayes. Ray, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Kerry Garner. He was trying to call me a little while ago, so some folks may still not be fully on the link yet. Oh, Doug Young's coming back. Sam Gibson. Jeff Mason.
Here.
John Potts.
Here.
Stephen Chambers.
Here.
Paul Bailey. And Kelly Keithlin.
Yeah.
Okay, we do have a quorum for the executive board. So moving on to number 5, the approval of the December 17th, 2020 executive board meeting minutes. Mayor Reagan, are you with us? Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the minutes of our last meeting? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll give you a motion, Mark.
Is that Mayor Hetty?
Mayor Hetty here. I'm sorry.
It should be in that new link they sent.
What?
That new link. They emailed him the new link too.
Do I have a second?
What's your email?
Second, Lloyd Williams.
Just letting you know, you're chairing a meeting right now and you're not on.
Is that Mayor Reagan? Dale,
Back to your mail.
excuse me, Mayor Reagan, I am being you for just a minute. We're sort of in the middle. Sorry about the technical problems. Is there any discussion about the motion to approve the minutes?
They told us they'd do it over. You still there? Okay.
Dr. Young, if you could mute, that would be helpful.
No, I wasn't.
Any discussion about the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. All right. Again, folks, sorry for the technical difficulties. It's unusual, but we're going to keep rolling. So agenda item number 6 is just the Dale Hollow RPO updates. We'll talk about the grants, the multimodal access grants. The results of TDOT's most recent cycle of applications has not yet been announced. I think they're coming down pretty soon. The one application submitted from Dale Hollow was from Hartsville, Trousdale County. And that project proposes to rebuild some existing sidewalk and construct new sidewalks from the intersection of State Route 141 north to intersection of 141 and State Route 25 in Hartsville. So we're optimistic about that. Have two multimodal access grants underway and administering. One is Lafayette with the intersection of State Route 52 and State Route 10. And in Salina, which is sidewalks, ADA compliance around the square and about halfway down Brown Street. The community transportation planning grants, as I mentioned in our last meeting, we were tickled that all four that were applied for were funded. So we have a corridor study on State Route 111, study and access points in Byrdstown. That's Byrdstown's grant. Neil Schaefer is the consultant on that. Neil Schaefer is also doing Lafayette's grant. It's a community mobility study around the square, State Route 10 and industrial access. Stantec is the consultant that's doing Gainsborough. It's also a community mobility study, and they're doing a good job. Jamestown has Gresham Smith doing a complete streets plan. And I've been very pleased with the progress so far on all the planning grants. The communities have done a good job also partnering with the consultants and getting them what they need. The next is the Rural Planning Initiative, the pilot project that TDOT's done for some small grants. Small planning grants. We had 6 total applications last year, which was a really good, solid effort. We were able to fund 3, and we bundled the projects together. Mattern and Craig out of Kingsport is the consultant that is doing the work on all 3. They are resurfacing and restriping plans in Gainsborough and Salina, and a corridor study for State Route 56 in Jackson County. Like the community transportation planning grants, we're sort of right in the middle of those right now, and I'm pleased with how they're going. A little bit off subject, but this is sort of while we have everybody together. Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development mentioned the Tennessee Historic Development Grant Program earlier in the week, and it's sort of a short turnaround. The webinars were real sort of quick. And so just want to make it known to you, if you haven't already seen my emails, is that they are accepting applications for that program. It's just under $5 million for projects that will renovate and preserve the state's historic buildings. It's really sort of they've tried to make a grant out of their historic tax credit thing to get private developers to invest in buildings that have, that are historical. And so they're trying to get private capital, and then it's a 30% match. It has to be on the National Register individually or as part of a historic district. And they've already, when I sat in on the webinar yesterday, they culled courthouses out of it. So that knocks a bunch out. But historic buildings that are on the National Register of Historic Places or in a historic district, maybe that are privately owned and willing to partner with government, those are solid sort of applicants. The last thing on my RPO update, last summer I worked with Mike McClanahan and Rachel Bergman of TDOT on 2 applications for National Scenic Byways in the Upper Cumberland. The first is the Walton Road Scenic Byway, Smith, Putnam, Cumberland, and Roane counties, and the Cumberland Historic Byway, which is Claiborne, Campbell, Scott, Morgan, Fentress, Pickett, Overton, and Clay counties. Both of these were already state-recognized byways with existing corridor management plans. In February of this year, the Federal Highway Administration announced that the Cumberland Historic Byway has been designated a National Scenic Byway. Now it's called the Cumberland National Scenic Byway. It stretches for about 156 miles and along a number of routes US 25 East, State Route 63, State Route 52, US 127, and State Route 111. The tagline for it is "From the Cumberland Gap to the Cumberland River." It's one of 5 new designations in Tennessee and one of 49 new designations to America's byways. So the benefit of this is the route and the surrounding communities will have greater access to federal grant funding from the National Scenic Byway Program and national marketing from America's Byways program. So my priority right now, because 4 of those are in the Dale Hollow RPO, is to coordinate a local steering committee to provide input and direction from the local communities. The UCDD will be working with the 4 counties in our region and the 4 in East Tennessee in conjunction with Rick Yakovic and Don Brown of the East Tennessee Development District. I'm working on the makeup and structure of the steering committee. My goal is for it to be effective but flexible and to act as a single entity. For the purposes of the byway, that's how the steering committee is going to have to function to reap the full benefits of the federal designation. Now, I want to welcome our TDOT partner, Mike McClanahan. Mike is the Scenic Byways Manager at TDOT. Mike's going to update us on the most recent developments with the Cumberland National Scenic Byway. Take it away, Mike. Are you with us, Mike? He's not. He didn't get it. He didn't get it. Can you send the link to him? Okay. Excuse me 1 second, folks. I think I'm going to try to get Mike on the call. I'll be right back in. Thanks.
Hey, Mark, I can try getting him on if you want to proceed to the next item in the meantime. Up to you.
That'll be great, Ian.
All right, I'll work on it now. You go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mayor Williams, agenda item number 8, the UCHRA Public Transit.
All right, good morning. Mark, we would like to ask you to forward out that survey for the intercity bus to all the participants. What it is, it is an opportunity for us to get some more grant funds. And I was going to bring in our physical officer, John Brock, to explain it just a little bit. And this is Mr. Brock.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So this is fairly recent. So we are still kind of combing through the details. Big picture, TDOT is supposed to do this intercity bus service study every 3 years. And basically what they do is they assess whether or not the intercity bus needs among the community across the state is being met by the providers that are currently in existence. So it's kind of an administrative thing that they have to do every 3 years. And so that's what they're doing right now. I believe that Virginia sent it out either yesterday afternoon or this morning. So you might have seen it within the past 24 hours, something like that. So there are 2 surveys. There's one that they sent out for the riders that's meant to be distributed to riders or potential riders of intercity bus service. So intercity bus service is defined as basically a bus service between 2 cities, two urbanized areas. So there was a survey that was sent out. I'm not sure if all of you have gotten it. So some of this might not ring a bell to some of you, but some of you it might. So bear with me. But so there's a survey that was sent out for riders, kind of to assess various things from their perspective. There was a survey that was sent out for providers. So in this instance, UCHRA is a rural transit provider. They've done some kind of interesting semantics in the study where they define intercity bus providers, like I previously mentioned, as providers taking folks between 2 cities, 2 urbanized areas. See, us at UCHRA, we do what we have considered to be intercity bus service. We take folks from Cookeville to Nashville and from McMinnville to Warren, and all around. So we have traditionally considered that to be intercity bus service. For the sake of their survey, they are defining that as a feeder service or a feeder route. And I find that interesting. So like I'd mentioned previously, we're kind of still combing through the details. But what they have done this year with respect to this intercity bus study, and this is kind of technical, so bear with me and you can ask questions once I get through it. But every year, UCHRA gets money from the Federal Transit Administration for our public transit service. And those are funded through Program 5311. Now this year, the study was not done in time. So what they did was they held back 15% of those funds. And those 15% is essentially ought to be dedicated to intercity bus providers. Now that's why they're doing this survey. What they're doing is they're seeing if the need is being met by the providers that are currently in operation. If at the end of this survey, process, they determine that the needs are being met, they will then redistribute that 15% of funds that they held back to UCHRA and the other HRAs across the state. If they determine that there's some new development that occurred between now and the last time they did this study, they might distribute that 15% to Greyhound, and that would not be what we would want. So it's kind of a big deal. We've been talking about this morning, and for those of you that would like to answer and respond to the survey, we would definitely encourage you guys to do that. There are some, I wouldn't say super technical, but somewhat technical questions. So if you don't feel comfortable answering the survey, I wouldn't stress yourself out about it. I feel like if we could provide them with more quality over than quantity, that'll allow them to really kind of have more of a unified front from us in this region. But I don't anticipate it being a big deal. I think that it will be fairly status quo. I'm hoping at the end of it, and we will get that 15% of funds reallocated to us at the end of it. But like I mentioned, we're still kind of combing through everything, but it looks like it's just fairly normal business. And it's just kind of an administrative thing that TDOT has to do every 3 years to meet their requirements with the FTA. But it is to kind of assess the lay of the land and the landscape for intercity bus service. I saw a press release from the comptroller's office earlier where they were talking about counties having to be prepared for redistricting once the census results come out. And they had mentioned in that it's looking like the census results for county level data is going to be coming out in September of 21. There should be some interesting things that occur with Putnam. And at that point, we will become a UZA, an urbanized area, and we will be providing intercity bus service. So it might be all a wash, but all that stuff is kind of TBD and forthcoming. But if you guys have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Mark, what we was just trying to do is try to get the survey out and then see if anybody wanted to fill it out and try to give you a little update on it. I know some of it's kind of confusing or whatever, but we would appreciate any help we could get on acquiring these 15% of the funds. And that's kind of our update today, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor Williams, and thank you, John. I will send that out right after the meeting. And thank you all for jumping ahead one in the agenda. TDOT Scenic Byways guru Mike McClanahan has joined us. Mike, sorry about the technical difficulties this morning, but I just did a brief intro about sort of how we got here and sort of the work on the steering committee and its purpose. If you could talk to us about the most recent updates with the Scenic Byways program, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think y'all can hear me. I think I'm off mute. Welcome to my basement. I've never been called a guru before, Mark. So thanks for the lead in there.
Yeah.
Happy to talk to you guys a little bit about Scenic Byways. I'm not going to take up too much time. I do want to tell you, if Mark has explained it to you, y'all got a federal scenic designation from the U.S. Department of Transportation back in February. That's a big deal. You join effectively what is less than 200 routes across the country that have these designations, and you guys have one right in your backyard. I'll tell you that news broke in February. We tried to do what trumpeting we could do here locally. Since that time, there's been a lot of national attention paid to the new routes, and yours is like at the top of that heap. I know the travel section for the Washington Post, wrote an article about the Cumberland Byway, and there was just another thing that we posted to the T-Dot Beautification at T-Dot Beautify Twitter handle yesterday, where another online publication, highlighted you guys. So there's a lot of national attention that comes with these designations. I'll tell you that there are some state resources that we're trying to upgrade. If you wanted, and we're not just doing this for you, there's been a awakening of scenic byways probably in the past 2 years, and we're trying to make sure that TDOT has the appropriate level of resources for the collection of byways. So all 10 it's 10 now, nationally designated routes. We're putting together a publication. We're upgrading our website. We've done some marketing and some creative images. There's literally something that has, Cumberland National Scenic Byway, your tagline, and then an image of the route, a creative image of the route that's on display in downtown Nashville right now, and in malls across the state. I think those are the two venues we're advertising as. A couple Nashville billboards. The Nashville sign is the big one, and then some out of home marketing at malls across the state. So, long story short, that's going on right now. We've got these state level, these TDOT level resources that we're upgrading. We are going to work on you transitioning your name, Mark. I don't know if you mentioned this, but the committee that formed the planning documents for the route back in the day had described it as the Cumberland Historic Byway. Because you've now got this national designation, we're switching that from Cumberland Historic Byway to Cumberland National Scenic Byway. You still have the same everything to it, but we're adding the national designation as part of your name. Those changes will take place over the summer, working with Federal Highways and trying to get their stuff updated. Of course, our stuff is coming along over the summer as well. So we'll all make that switch at one time. The last thing I want to tell you about is federal funding. The designation really does two things. One, it makes you part of this America's Byway Collection. You're a full-fledged member of the Tennessee Collection of Byways now. So you're getting that marketing that underpins that. The other thing is this access to federal grant funding. There's a National Scenic Byway program that had existed for many years. Maybe several of you have heard of it. There's been a pretty good history of TDOT pulling down some of those funding opportunities and applying the federal dollars to projects along byways in years past. And we'll be hopefully doing that again. There's a $16 million pot of money. Everything's 80-20, and that will become available sometime this summer. We don't know 100% of the program parameters yet. They're tweaking them at the federal level, and so when that notice of funding becomes available over the summer, I'm just going to read from the list of things that they've told us that so you guys can get a sense for what this pays for. If you need a planning document, you already have one, but if you wanted to update it or you wanted to do something about, bicycles or motorcycles or, something else, focusing on planning documents. If there's an area of the route that has a safety improvement, a needed safety improvement, if there's anything that we find at the state level that we could, like y'all have a need and maybe the Ocoee Scenic Byway has a similar need. Maybe we could have a state project for 2 routes or multiple routes. So state programming. Let's see, construction of byway facilities. The last grant that we got was to build a welcome center on the Great River Road at the Reelfoot Lake State Park. That literally was a 2012 grant. It took forever. There's some other things that went on with that particular project, but we did a ribbon cutting on that back in March. Access to recreation. If you need a put in or trailheads or something like that, access to recreation is one of the categories. There's also resource protection. So if you want to do some preservation work around some of the scenic views or maybe the historic assets along the route, there's tourism and interpretation info. If you guys think you need interpretive markers along the site or something else that goes along with that, it can be pretty creative. And then also marketing programs. So those eight categories are the things that the federal grant money can be applied to. $16 million this summer. And there's an even larger multi-year pot of $325 million over 5 years that's being talked about as part of the infrastructure, bills coming out of Congress. So we've got one-time kind of small dollars this summer, and then hopefully more that you can pull down from should you want to in the future. That's about it, Mark. Unless y'all have any questions about what's going on with Byways.
Thank you, Mike. And when I spoke with one of the mayors in East Tennessee, that was that was on his wish list, was a welcome center on one end, maybe another one on the western end, which would be in our neck of the woods. And so that's why the steering committee is important, to get everybody sort of acting as one to take full use of the grant opportunities. But Mike, thanks very much. One thing I will say, the Walton Road Scenic Byway we applied for that. It did not get a federal designation, but I've been having conversations with Mike. They are wanting to make sure that the state recognized scenic byways also get some love and attention too. So we're also gonna be considering that. But that's all I got, Mike. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so that takes us to agenda item number 9. Andrea Noel of TDOT's Office of Community Transportation is going to talk to us about resurfacing in Dale Hollow.
Hi, Mark.
Hi there.
Are you seeing my screen?
We are indeed.
Oh, you are? Okay, good. We haven't used Google Meet, and our computers don't really support this, so this is a test run for me. Sorry. So Mark only gave me about 5 minutes on the agenda. Thanks, Mark. Love you. I just want to talk about a couple things really quick. In just a few weeks, our fiscal year 2022 paving projects will be announced. So we wanted to take an opportunity to remind you about our process, some opportunities for you, and some ways to get additional information. This slide is shows our website where you can find the information about the resurfacing program. The fiscal year 2022 proposed list is already on the website, and in a few weeks, it'll be updated with the final list, so you can check it periodically for updates. I'll also post this link in the chat box at the end of the presentation for you. So if you have a project on the list this year, well, when I say this year, I mean 2022, you'll see a letter similar to this one on your screen. It'll contain information about where it is, what type of project you're going to have, and most importantly, the deadline that any changes can be made. So that date that'll be in the letter is not the date that we want to hear back from you. That's the date that the engineers, that's the final date that they can make any changes to the project. So we want to hear back from you well before the start date, so the sooner the better. And some of the possibilities, we've mentioned in the past that TDOT will consider changes when we do a resurfacing project. So here's a list of some of those possibilities. There's a possibility to add bike lanes and buffers as long as there's room. We could do some crosswalk enhancements. We could even talk about a road reconfiguration and road diets. We could add rumble strips and stripes, and definitely coordination on utilities. So here's a list of some resources. If you have any questions about any of the topics that I just talked about, you can most likely find the answers on our Multimodal Transportation Resource Division website. And I can also post that link too. So they also have design guidelines, instructional bulletins, existing bike routes, manuals, and lots of other helpful links. So coordination is the key. Anytime we do one of these projects, we not only want to hear from you, but we really need to hear from you, especially if you have anything planned on the state route, like any sidewalk projects or utility projects. We also want to know about any major events you have coming up, like parades or festivals. You know, we want you to give us those dates so that we can make sure that we're not impeding on your event as well. So I just put this slide in here real quick just to show you how many resurfacing projects that Dale Hollow RPO will have for fiscal year 2022. This is all on the list on the website, so you can see it there. Like I said, coordination is key to a successful project, so we'll try our best to communicate with you all along the way. Rachel, Kevin, and myself are in Chattanooga, so let us know how we can help. And the second topic I wanted to talk to you about, and didn't make it on the agenda, sorry. On April 27th, just a few weeks ago, the fiscal year 2022 to fiscal year 2024 comprehensive multimodal program was announced. It includes 68 individual project phases across the state. So we encourage you to look through the document to see all the projects that are being funded, which includes 55 bridge projects and lots of transit projects as well. So I will also put the link to this in the chat box in just a few minutes. So thank you all. I'll turn it back over to Mark, but if you have any questions for me about any of the slides I just showed, please just put it in the chat box and I'll try to answer them before the end of the meeting. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Andrea. And are you going to discuss the governor's 3-year plan? Or is somebody else?
Oh, I didn't realize you had put a slide in there. Yeah, that was the last slide that I was just showing. So
Okay.
to call it the governor's 3-year plan, it's now called the Comprehensive Multimodal Program.
Aha.
So yes, I did just talk about that. And
Tomato. Okay.
yeah, I'll put a link in the chat box for you guys.
Right. Thank you so much. And
Thanks, Mark.
so now Brandon Darks from TDOT of TDOT Project Safety is going to share some information with us.
Hey, Mark, this is Ian. I've been on the phone with Brandon all morning trying to get the platform switched over for him, and it just wasn't working out. And he's really sorry. He's not going to be able to. We tried to have the presentation sent over to us, but I think there's some sensitive information in there that he was hoping to share it, in person on his own. So what he said was, working with me, I'd be happy to set up some future meetings with the mayors and their staff in person, and we can go over this type of material with them, with you all. It's just not going to work out just, due to the technical difficulties. I told him it was fine and that I'd be happy to follow up with anybody on this call about anything like that. But he expressed his apologies, and I told him that we'd hit him up another time if that works for y'all, unfortunately.
That's fine, and no need to apologize because we've all sort of done the best we could under the circumstances this morning. So
yeah. He just knows how much it means to the RPOs, and he enjoys coming out to present and talk about the safety program and really just safety questions in general. He's a good contact for it. So he will continue to be a resource for us, and I hope we can continue to use him. So.
We will invite him back on another day.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Ian. Thank you,
sir.
So that brings us to agenda item number 12, other business. Does anybody else have anything they want to bring up? RPO business. Okay. That brings us to opportunity for public comment. Anybody from the public, the general public who's on who would like to make a comment, now is the time and the forum. Okay, there being no public comment, I would ask Chairperson King and Chairman Dale Reagan to adjourn the technical committee and executive board meetings.
The technical committee is adjourned.
The executive board meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all very much. Sorry for the technical glitch. See you soon.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.